We're on three, 1, 2, 3. Party on three, 1, 2, 3. Let's go!
We believe in the people in this room no matter what's going on.
40-yard catch and run, Nick Chubb.
If you look at the history of that bye week, usually it's a good thing for the teams going and trying to make a championship run.
The minute that he signed with the Bucs and came in the division, you felt like that was going to be a team to contend with.
And we're going to have to go play great football.
How you like that, baby?
I love that.
Get another one.
Tumbling grab touchdown.
But it's not over. We're not done yet.
He is a freakishly good athlete.
I know.
There's going to always be no naysayers, no matter what. So
we're going to have to execute one play at a time.
As you can see, I was very excited. I have no voice. Our defense has been like that all year.
The Rams versus the Packers, and we'll see if we can get after Matt a little bit. It'll be fun.
Another the Around the NFL broadcast presented by Truist. My name is Dan Hansis, and I'm coming to you from a room filled with some heroes. Greg Rosenthal, Mark Sessler, what is up, boys?
Best weekend of the year. Come on, let's do it.
Every time I log on, it is the two of you every day, all the time. So let's proceed. Nothing's changed.
Nothing has changed, but the NFL calendar has. We're to the divisional round weekend, the best weekend of football of the year, pound for pound. And we are the Around the NFL podcast on TV. You check out our podcast 3 times a week, including our Sunday night flagship show where we're going to break down and recap all the games we're about to preview here. So make sure you do that. And before we get to the business of previewing the games, why don't we have a little fun and predict some aspects of divisional round weekend with headlines from the future? Greg, get us going. Give us a headline from the future.
All right, let's take a look at the Rosenthal Renegade. Newspapers are struggling. Not mine. Our subscriptions are going up. Bye-bye, Breeze. Sad times it would be in New Orleans when they lose to Tampa this weekend. The end of an era. Not just for Breeze, but this 2017 Saints draft class. Like a lot riding on this New Orleans game on Sunday.
All right. How about you, Mark Sessler?
Well, you want to talk about a newspaper with the circulation off the charts hopping. Let's get off this Rosenthal Renegade business and go to the Sessler B. He went to Jared, but left without a ring. Now, there is a subhead here because any great newspaper leans on subheads. McVay Wolford spotted vacationing in Tahiti after Rams tumble. Ooh. In quotes, Goff's still my guy. Wolfie and I just connect on a spiritual level, says Coach.
Ooh, I like that. Wolfie, that they have a close, intimate connection. All right, let's head over to the other paper of record in the National Football League, the Zeus Gazette. Aaron plays Karen to Rams title dreams. Oh, that is bad news because whenever Karen's involved, bad news follows. We're so excited to get into all of the NFL action to come. We'll be right back after this.
We on 3, 1, 2, 3. Party on 3, 1, 2, 3. Let's go!
We believe in the people in this room no matter what's going on.
40-yard catch and run, Nick Chubb.
If you look at the history of that bye week, usually it's a good thing for the teams. going and trying to make a championship run.
The minute that he signed with the Bucs and came in the division, you felt like that was going to be a team to contend with.
And we're going to have to go play great football.
How you like that, baby? No, I love that. Get another one. Tumbling grab touchdown. But it's not over. We're not done yet.
He is a freakishly good athlete.
I know.
There's gonna always be no naysayers, no matter what. So
we're gonna have to execute one play at a time.
As you can see, I was very excited. I have no voice. Our defense has been like that all year.
The Rams versus the Packers, and we'll see if we can get after Matt a little bit. It'll be fun.
Welcome to another edition of the Around the NFL broadcast presented by Truist. My name is Dan Hansis. I'm joined in a room filled with some heroes, a virtual room that is. Greg Rosenthal, Mark Sessler. Boys, it is divisional round weekend. Pound for pound, Greg Rosenthal, the best weekend of football all year.
I am so fired up. I had to put on my Rob Lowe collection of NFL gear to be ready for it.
Well, there's no other way to go from a fashion sense, Greg. I totally approve of what you've done here.
I see you and Rob Lowe are interchangeable in so many ways. This is just the latest evidence of that. Yes, we are the Bozos from the Around the NFL podcast, which you can check out 3 times a week wherever you get your podcast. And make sure you check out our flagship program Sunday night when we recap every one of the divisional round matchups to come. And before we get to previewing those games, let's put on our predictive caps, NFL branded only, no teams, and dig into some headlines from the future in our local periodicals of note. Greg, get us going.
All right. The Rosenthal Renegade is not struggling like a lot of newspapers out there. People love it because of our headlines. Bye-bye, Breeze. Simple. It almost looks a little cruel with that picture. We're not rejoicing at the Renegade. We're just saying goodbye to an era of Saints football that may never be replaced.
That's tough. The Renegade. Yeah. Did you pick up your copy of The Renegade? It just feels like you're a dangerous print outlet, and poor Drew Brees. You hope he doesn't go out quietly. It's been a tough 10 years since that last Super Bowl. How about you, Mark Sessler? What's going on with your periodical?
I would note that there's a comma missing there after bye-bye, Renegade editors. But how about the Sessler B? He went to Jared but left without a ring. And like any good hot story,
who's he?
Well, that he being Sean McVay, we'll get into it. The subhead is McVay Wolford spotted vacationing in Tahiti after Rams tumble. In quotes, Goff's still my guy. Wolfie and I just connect on a spiritual level, coach says.
Wow. I mean, the fact that he refers to him as Wolfie, that really paints a picture. You want to know more about what's going on with that relationship. Let's spin on over to, yes, this is a paper that I've always trusted, the Zeus Gazette, the old Zeuser himself, publisher. Aaron plays Karen to Rams' title dreams. Yes, Karen, that figure, so divisive in American culture. And this is that, it speaks to the Gazette's abilities to capture the zeitgeist as well. Aaron Rodgers is going to have his way against the Rams this weekend. There you go. There's our predictions. Karens.
I mean, what did he report that they committed a penalty that no one saw or something? Also, why are the newspapers from Friday? It's a little confusing.
Don't get into the details.
You didn't have to point that out, Greg, because then the viewers might have missed it. But there's some classic Rosenthal Renegade for you there. All right, let's dig into the game, starting with the one that Mark Sessler has been waiting half his life for. The Cleveland Browns traveling to Arrowhead Stadium to face the defending world champion Kansas City Chiefs Sunday, 3:05 Eastern. Oh my goodness. Listen, Mark, feels like a house money game for the Browns, but at the same time, you're not here as a Browns fan just to compete and take some house money. You want to win the whole thing at this point, don't you?
Yeah, and I don't think the Cleveland Browns or any team hanging around right now calls it house money. I mean, Cleveland, I would say the way they went into that Pittsburgh game, I mean, mentally from the neck up, they just seemed to me like they wanted that game so much more. And I don't know what changes between last week and now, so I don't listen to house money at all. The difference last week, obviously, that insane first quarter, and you put Big Ben and the Steelers into a world of hurt. And it came, I know their defense allowed 500 yards passing, and a lot of that had to do with the cover 2 scheme they used, and they kind of just we'll give you your yards up front. This time around, you're not going to get the turnovers. You're not going to get 4 interceptions, not off Patrick Mahomes. So what works here? I think if you can do anything to stop the Chiefs and force them to punt even a couple times, you can hang around. I see a shootout here, And if I have one little X factor, it's Chiefs tackles versus Myles Garrett and Adrian Claiborne. Myles Garrett has not had that monster game, not in a couple of weeks. He has got to make that happen here. I think this is Myles Garrett's time, but the offense, I expect him to produce. Am I being crazy to think Cleveland has a shot here?
I love when Mark does that.
No.
Sound. Am I crazy?
Am I being... Of course not. This is the game where, as the week has gone along, I've slowly convinced myself that actually the Browns might win this game, that they match up perfectly. I locked up against them, but I'm not really feeling it, especially after Mark gave me those evil eyes he gives you when you cross him. But
you can see it.
I get why Mark's confident. Like, can the Chiefs match the physicality of the Browns? If you look at the Chiefs' defense, one of the worst in the entire NFL in terms of expected points allowed since week 9. Terrible against the run. And now you got to play a Browns team that's so physical up front. And you look at what Nick Chubb is doing, and then you unleash Kareem Hunt, who had so much juice a week ago. I don't know if the Chiefs pass rush, and if you talk to Chiefs fans, like they're tired. They want Frank Clark to do something. It's basically Chris Jones and Honey Badger, and not much else on that defense. So I think at worst they can have a Raiders type of game where they control the ball and it's high scoring and it's a lot of fun to watch.
The talk around this game over the last several days, including our most recent podcast, really stinks of recency bias, because everyone is so excited about the Browns with good reason, because they're a great story and they represent hope for downtrodden franchises. But also it's like, listen, you just saw them and they had this special moment, and the Chiefs, meanwhile, haven't played a game of note in weeks, and we're not going to, when Patrick Mahomes throws his first pass, it's going to be the first one in game action in 20 days. So you're kind of forget about the Chiefs, and that's why it's I get it. Everyone wants this to happen, but at the same time, are you going to be surprised if this game is 24-3 in the second quarter with the Chiefs just going nuts? I would not be. I think there's a lot of sleeping on the Chiefs, and I buy in a little bit to what people are saying about how they played all those close games down the stretch, and there was a bit of a lull, because when you're the champ, there's a lull in the regular season because it's all about January. I think you're going to see a different version of the Chiefs, and the Browns are a great story, and I hope it's a close game, but this could easily go the other way.
That's very fair. I mean, there's a script that says the Chiefs come out like a house on fire, but their defense, to Greg's point, I mean, they have given up 24 plus in 6 of 8 games, and I don't think that's a mirage. And I guess I just kind of trust that Cleveland can do some damage because they're a team based off, a powerful offensive line. And I thought the way that they dealt with Pittsburgh's pass rush with Baker Mayfield getting the ball out in 2.34 seconds, the fastest all year, really not being pressured all game. That gives you a sign that there's some evidence they can do it. Here's the other thing. Who knows? Anything could happen. I mean, we could be, our best friends 10 years from now could be robots. I mean, the world is changing. I just want to live in a place of possibilities, but the Chiefs are as big of a test in the AFC as you could cook up. So will see.
Are you're equating your chances of winning, raising because we might be friends with robots in 10 years? I feel like you're grasping at straws, my friend.
I mean, Dan, you and I started working at NFL Network about 10 years ago. And if I sat down and said, here's where we'll be 10 years from now, you would have slapped me in the face. So, I mean, anything could happen. The world is variable.
So wait, are you saying you're going to leave the show to become friends with robots? Because I want to keep these paychecks coming. I want to keep this show going in 10 years. I don't want to be friends with the robots. I want to be friends with you, Mark.
I didn't get into all that detail.
Have you thought that maybe that we would be replaced by robots, Greg, that Mark is formulating a long game here? I feel like that would work out in his favor. A lot of Browns talk with metal and wire.
I know. I mean, just look at the actual players on the field. Have a little more faith than just crazy things could happen. Here's why I don't totally imagine a 24-3 Chiefs lead, because it hasn't happened. I mean, at some point, you got to trust they are the team they showed us for 2 months. I hope the Browns look at that Falcons game, which was sneaky, one of the most compelling games of the entire season. Falcons-Chiefs, a team with no pass rush, somehow flummoxes Patrick Mahomes for 4 quarters. It's 17-14. Chiefs defense actually played well in that game. I saw so many of those performances that at some point I had to believe they're not the same Chiefs offense as a year ago. They're good. And I think they'll win because they have the best player I've ever seen play football, Patrick Mahomes, and they got Travis Kelce, but they're not unbeatable.
I didn't say they're unbeatable, but yes, let's not sleep on Patrick Mahomes being prominently involved in this game, and I think it's going to give the Cleveland defense, which gave up 500 passing yards to Big Ben. I know the game script, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be a problem for Cleveland's defense, in my opinion. All right, we're just getting started here on the Around the NFL broadcast presented by Truist. Up next, yes, the Rams and Packers in a showdown, offense v. defense. The great Kevin Burkhardt, who's calling the game, joins us to talk.
Mayfield on a fake flip to Beckham, and he gets away. Now Beckham has room to run. Odell Beckham Jr. all the way. Touchdown, Cleveland. Set up screen. They've got some blocking. Cook taking advantage. First down and more. Dalvin Cook breaking free into the open. Cook all the way. Smith under pressure going end zone. He's got it. Touchdown, Logan Thomas. Home survey looking going end zone. Caught! Touchdown! Robinson! Bears coming with the blitz. Rodgers sees it, floats it down the middle. It is caught! Valdez-Scantling gonna go all the way! Touchdown, Green Bay!
Listen to that. Some expert calls there by a man who did very well in the Around the NFL podcast recent play-by-play announcer power rankings. He's in that top tier. He's a triple threat for Fox, and I remember him as a New Yorker from his time as the field reporter at SNY. He's on the Mount Rushmore of field reporters as well in the tri-state area. He's the great Kevin Burkhardt. Welcome to the broadcast.
Guys, it's quite the build-up, so I'll try to live up to it. But thanks for having me on. You know, I watch you all the time, so now I feel like I'm part of the crew. So, yeah, excited.
Ooh. Awesome, Kevin. You know, you're covering Rams-Packers this weekend, calling that game, and we're really excited to watch it. And I know you've done Packers games this year. You did Packers games last year. One of the subplots entering the season was Aaron Rodgers talking about life in a pandemic and understanding where he is in his career, that he felt different. Like he felt that he had a different outlook, and now he's going to be the MVP. In your time with him, you know, and I know you guys get to talk before games. Have you noticed a difference in Rodgers, say last year to this year even?
I've always really liked Aaron. He's very introspective and he's, a little different, right? He's philosophical. He can go in any different direction you want. I do think that, self-admittedly, he said he changed some things. And, I think the pandemic made us all look at things maybe a little bit differently. But I think the biggest thing for him is he's just so simpatico with Matt LaFleur in the second year. I think we've seen a lot of it with Brady this year, right? You expect him to go to a new team, new offense, and be like, oh, everything's great. Just, throw 50 touchdowns, no big deal. So last year they got to the championship game, and it was still a brand new offense with some new parts, new head coach, and they were still obviously very good. This year it's just at an elite level. So I think maybe he's adapted to a couple different things, but I think Aaron is the same things that have driven him in the past still drive Aaron Rodgers.
Like spite and, talent. No, I think about Rodgers and LaFleur, and you say they're simpatico, and look, LaFleur's getting open receivers for him. That's going to make him happy with his coach. And then I think about the Rams situation and a very unique playoff setup where Jared Goff was not the starter a week ago. And, he spoke this week about that there was just a difference of opinion between him and Sean McVay about how healthy he was entering that game. But your colleague Troy Aikman also hinted at like a little bit of a lack of confidence that Goff was maybe playing with late in the season, whether that was reflected in the decision last week. I don't know. Like, what is your feel of what it's like with McVay and Goff entering this huge game together?
Well, I think that there's no doubt. Look, it was a combination last week, Greg. I think it was obvious, the combination of the thumb. And Goff did not have a great finish to the year. And, Sean liked Wolford and his ability to roll out and do on the move. He played pretty well in that game against Arizona week 17. But let's keep in mind, they didn't score an offensive touchdown in that game. So while he did some nice things, I think Sean was looking at a different dimension of the offense. And let's be real, Goff had thumb surgery, 12 days for the game. I mean, that is not ideal, right? So I think those two things. Look, I'll tell you this: we just spoke to Goff yesterday. I think he's pretty confident. I think he's a little ticked off, and rightfully so. Look, obviously Jared's got a lot of detractors, and he's had some ups and downs. But the reality is, if you take away his rookie season with Jeff Fisher, he's 40-24 in the starter, and he's won 3 playoff games. Okay, and I understand that they have a lot of talent, and that Sean McVay is a whiz kid coach. But the bottom line is Jared Goff has won a lot of games. And I think he's got a little chip on his shoulder this week. When everybody's talking about Packers' number one offense, Rams' number one defense, I think this is a huge stage for Jared Goff.
If I'm a Rams fan, I like hearing that, Kevin, because I think if there's one of the knocks maybe on Goff, he's that laid-back, no-cal type guy, and he maybe doesn't have that chip in him to get fired up and find a way to raise his game. If you're a Rams fan, you're happy to hear that because physically he's compromised. So you might have to reach into the competitor within to find a way to win a game this weekend.
Yeah, look, I don't know right then. I don't know what he's going to do this weekend. Who knows against a good Packers defense? But I think he's ready for it. And I think he's more. The other thing which you take into account last week, besides the thumb surgery, is, and maybe the general public just poo-poos it, he didn't practice. He didn't take a single rep in practice. So, yeah, I get it. You're looking at it this week, say, well, Donald and Kupp aren't practicing. They'll probably play. It's just different. The quarterback just came off thumb surgery, and he hadn't thrown a ball in a practice situation. First throw was in the wild card game. So he's had a full week of practice. He's got every rep. He's played a little bit with the glove to see if he wants to go that route. I just think it's different. Again, it doesn't mean he's going to come out and throw for 400 yards, but I think he's in a better place this week.
I have maybe a question less about the particular game.
Mark, I'm not
your
hearing
role
you.
as a play-by-play guy. I'm the nerd that grew up and went to college for it and would sit in front of a TV announcing games on a fake microphone in my hand.
I can't hear Mark.
And I'm just wondering if you possibly did the same thing when growing up yourself.
Mark's wondering if you grew up watching games on TV and turning the volume down and doing the announcing yourself.
Yeah, sorry, Mark. I couldn't hear your question. I saw your lips moving, but it didn't come through on my computer. Yeah, the answer is yes. Look, I grew up with Summerall and Madden, right? I mean, my football was a football. My household was a football household. Sunday was a big deal, and I wouldn't turn it down when they were calling the games. But my thing was I would call Nintendo games into a tape recorder. So we've all played Tecmo Bowl, right? That was the jam. So we put on Tecmo Bowl, and my brother and my best friend, we would go. I had a dual cassette deck for those of you, it just shows my age. I actually had a dual cassette deck. People are like, what the hell does that mean? So I would record one and even play back highlights on the post-game show later. So that's how I practiced doing Nintendo games into my tape recorder.
I love that.
That's
Kevin.
awesome. So a lot of similarities to Mark, but you ended up making it to the mountaintop, and he's stuck here with me. It's all, Joe Buck gets a lot of love for, it's like, oh, he does baseball. He's doing baseball, football 3 times a week, hardest working man in show business, like really diverse, but you're in the studio for baseball. Do you sometimes think Buck gets a little, too much love when you're basically doing the same thing? Some would say harder. You got to jump to the studio.
Listen, I think Joe's amazing, and I will say this: for anyone who's ever done, football games and knows the production, how much goes into it, doing 2 NFL games in 1 week is a lot. I know people say, "Oh, come on," it's a lot of work. So when you're doing 2 NFL games in 1 week with 4 different teams, and then doing, World Series games around that is freaking amazing in my book.
Last question before we say goodbye. Kevin, like I said, I'm a Yankee fan, but we always respected what Burkhart was doing over on SNY with Mets games all those years. And Citi Field, out in Queens, great food there. You've been to all the MLB stadiums in your time. You've been to all the NFL stadiums. Where's the best food in this country in terms of concessions?
Oh, man. Well, for NFL, I don't really get to experience it anymore because I'm up in the booth and I'm eating whatever they're bringing in the press box. So I just gorging on snacks all day. For baseball, oh, man. So I'm going to give you 2. There's a lot of them now, but Colorado always had some great stuff. They had some really unique things in Colorado, and I think Seattle is really, really good too. Just maybe a couple off-the-wall things. Obviously, Seattle's got the fried grasshopper if you're into that type of thing. But if you're looking for something other than a hot dog and beer, those 2 places got a lot of variety for you.
There you go. Kevin Burkhart going to be on the call. Rams, Packers, thank you so much, and have a great game. Coming up next on the Around the NFL broadcast, we have Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen playing football against each other for the right to play in the conference championship. Ravens-Bills up next.
On 3rd and 9, Jackson to throw. Steps up, pocket collapsing, he escapes. He's to the 40-yard line. 35-30, Lamar Jackson to the 20, leg race, 10, 5, Singleless touchdown on 3rd and 9. He takes it to the house.
We're not done yet, but that's a heck of a run.
Time now for Who's Better, presented by Truist. Gentlemen, I'm going to throw a few options out there, and you got to just give me your top answer. What comes to your mind right away when we talk about Ravens and Bills? Let's start right here with Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, the two quarterbacks in the game. Who's better, Greg?
Oh, this hurts. I mean, Josh Allen's better right now. Lamar Jackson's better for the future and for this weekend because the matchup's better. So that's me straddling the fence. I can't
a terrible answer.
I can't go against Lamar. It's a great answer. Look, Josh Allen outside the pocket right now is unstoppable. But the way Lamar has thrown the ball the last couple weeks, especially to Marquise Brown, to me makes him just a bit more dynamic in this matchup because until I see otherwise, he's the greatest running quarterback in the history of the NFL, and we're watching it right here. Josh Allen has improved so much in terms of reducing the sacks that he's taken. Both of these guys are tough to take down. It's a tough choice. They're both top 5 quarterbacks.
I think you know it's Allen, but you have so much invested in Lamar at this point that you just can't bring yourself.
There we go.
It's not like Josh Allen is a
I said
slouch.
it's Allen this year.
You act like he's a slouch with his legs, and you're saying spinning forward that Lamar is better. What have we seen this year with Josh Allen to say that this is a one-shot deal, one-hit wonder? I don't know. That one got me fired up. I've seen more bad
tape out of Josh Allen over the last couple of years, but you're right. There's not a lot of reason to doubt. I mean, come on, Mark. You got a choice.
No, I'm setting him up. I'm setting him up. Quiet Storm, you're
all right,
up next.
I was gonna say, hit me with another one.
Ravens D or Bills D? Mark.
No, this is easy for me because I really trust Don Wink Martindale and the way they adjusted at halftime last week to shut down the Titans, one of the better offenses we've seen all year. The Bills, I mean, they improved on defense, but I don't really necessarily trust their defense, and they were totally gashed by the Colts last week, giving up nearly 500 yards. I mean, what is super special about Buffalo's defense? I would say their secondary can do a lot, but you're going to get every game from Baltimore. Marcus Peters making some sort of game-changing interception, a turnover, and I think they're heating up. I love the way that their linebackers and secondary adjusted to that game last week and grew stronger as the contest went on, Dan.
I mean, they're a bunch of grown men. Look at these guys, bunch of veterans like Derek Wolfe coming from Denver, Calais Campbell, Pernell McPhee comes back to Baltimore. It's like these guys are ready and they will knock you out. The Bills defense got to have their stars play better. Jerry Hughes, quiet last week. Tre'Davious White, one of the worst games I've ever seen him have. So they need their best players to play their best.
So Greg is answering his question and mine. Is that how this contest works?
I mean, it's an open conversation. You've done the podcast.
All right, everybody calm down, simmer down. The Buffalo defense was playing great until really the second half, or really the fourth quarter of last week, when they gave up a pair of 75-yard touchdown drives to get to let the Colts back in that game.
That's part of it.
I gotta say I'm trusting the Wink man right now. All right, finally, John Harbaugh or Sean McDermott, head coach. Who do you trust, Greg?
This is close. Mark, am I allowed to answer this?
Please do, and then I will jump in if allowed after. So,
okay, I will. I'm gonna go Harbaugh just by a little bit. You know, I think McDermott built an incredible staff. What I love about Harbaugh, though, is like every coordinator he brings in is a hit, and so at some point you have to give some credit to what he's done over the course of his time in Baltimore. And what breaks the tie, I think McDermott's great, but it's the game management. Harbaugh's great knowing when to go for the fourth downs, when to use his timeouts. McDermott had a couple loose timeouts last week. He can get conservative when the stakes are up, so I'm going Harbaugh.
I'm with you. This segment ends in happy fashion because I agree with you. I think it's by an edge, but both of these coaches have atypical quarterbacks that they so successfully managed and built offenses around that I think this game, if you're Sean McDermott, the playoffs present a doorway. And if they win and they go through that doorway, suddenly I'd give them a tie. And Sean McDermott, the sky is the limit. He just hasn't been around as long as John Harbaugh, but I see an equal talent.
But that's part of it. Why I give the credit to and the edge to Harbaugh is I think you get respect for hanging around in the league and year after year for like a decade, keeping your team competitive. And you want to talk about sliding doors moments before Lamar got to town and the Ravens were in a down cycle. They came very close to showing John Harbaugh the door. And what a mistake that would have been and it made me think of recently, and this is a little off topic, Andy Reid got shown the door in Philadelphia, and now the Eagles are looking for a head coach, and Andy Reid is royalty. That's just the way it all goes. All right, that was good. Who's better? Who's better? Presented by Truist. Coming up next, it's the game Quadrenarians. Is that how you say it? Tom Brady versus Drew Brees in a showdown in the NFC. Can't wait. Can't wait. Time now for Be Prepared, presented by Castrol Edge. What do we need to be prepared for in divisional round weekend? I'll get this one going. Be prepared, Bucks Saints, for a low-scoring affair, potentially. Drew Brees is back, obviously, with this offense, with Alvin Kamara, with Michael Thomas, but it has some shades of Peyton Manning in 2015 for me at this point during that Super Bowl run. It's just like the name brand is there, but the play isn't there from Drew Brees, and it keeps them earthbound as a team, even if you work in Taysom Hill. So I think this is a team that's going to top out at about 27 to 30 points. And then you look on the other side of the ball, and as great as Tom Brady has been in the last 5 or 6 weeks, the last time these two teams played, it was 38-3. And you wonder if Sean Payton, with already 2 wins under his belt against Brady, just has the man's number.
And 4 wins against Bruce Arians. I don't know, though. I mean, this Bucs defense, at least on that side of the ball, has not played well lately. The Saints defense is great, and they have the tougher matchup, but this Bucs defense worries me a little bit.
I mean, 9 out of 10 things that happen in the playoffs we don't predict beforehand, so I could totally see it, Dan. I'm with you.
What does that mean? So are you saying that I'm right?
I'm saying I believe you have a chance to be right. We will determine that after the game, but yes.
All right.
Would you like another one?
That was some solid analysis. All right, up next, Greg, what should we be prepared for?
I mean, that's the existential Mark answer. Like, we're not going to know anything, so we probably,
what are we doing
don't even
here?
need to watch us. All right, how about this? Be prepared for Tom Brady to leave Drew Brees in his shadow once again. What a bitter way it would be to end his career, Drew Brees, in this fashion against Tom Brady. I just love the way Tom Brady's throwing the ball right now. People acting like it's normal. I mean, what he did last week to Washington was outrageous. That was a top 3 or 4 defense in the league. Some of the throws that he made, I don't know. I just can't believe, not just at 43, but that it's Tom Brady. He was not throwing this ball this well when they were winning titles from 01 to 04. And I think it's partly because they're going to play action a little bit. It's partly because they're leaving in more guys to block. Bruce Arians did some changes at the bye week. It's not just that they're playing bad opponents. Last week, he lit up a great opponent.
Mark, life will do with us what it will, right?
Yes, but I think Greg has got a point here. Antonio Brown is heating up. Rob Gronkowski is in great form. I mean, there's a lot to like about this offense.
There's the Gronk reference. He didn't even have a catch last week, but they don't need him because they have so many weapons. I'm with you on this one. I think Brady is special. Like, can I see him getting flummoxed here in the playoffs against the Saints? Of course, I just made that point. But also, you got to put some respect on the GOAT's name and understand that this could go the other direction, especially now when you have the best pass rush in the playoffs off the board in Washington. If that didn't work, you can make the case that he's already faced his biggest potential pitfall in the NFC playoffs with that pass rush. So, all right, the GOAT. Good job. All right, Mark, what should we be prepared?
I'll give you one, and this is a little complex, so I'm going to look at my notes here. Be prepared for Sean Payton to perform a pile driver on referee Sean Hockley after a last-second go-ahead touchdown from Drew Brees to Michael Thomas is wiped out by Hockley mistakenly blowing his whistle after the snap due to an accidental sneeze. Game over. Bucks win. Peyton delivers a Paul Orndorff-esque pile driver on Hockley. Tell me this doesn't happen.
I wonder how many people in our audience know Paul Orndorff, Mr. Wonderful. I was always more of a Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig guy. Sean Hockley's doing nice work, Mark, in his career in the officiating game. Of course, I believe the son of the great Ed Hockley. And if you want to keep the wrestling analogy going, if we get a pile driver on young Hockley, can't you see Ed running down the aisle, ripping off his shirt, and he's all jacked up, and he comes and he cleans house, cleans out the ring, and then happy ending for the Hockleys?
That's how it ends. I mean, it would be an all-out brawl. You know, good night, Irene, they would say. I hear you, Dan.
Your thoughts, Greg?
I mean, I hope it doesn't happen. The poor Saints fans like that. And by the way, I mean, Sean Payton's in great shape. You know, you can tell he works out. I don't know if he can pile drive Sean Hockley right now.
No, wouldn't mess with him. All right, that was Be Prepared, presented by Castrol Edge. Coming up next, let's get caught up in what else is going on in the league. So the head coach carousel. Oh, I'm very excited. The old Zeuser, Robert Saleh in town. Let's do it. Coming up next.
Oh, yeah.
Carousel.
I'm Ricky Hollywood, and here are 6 things you didn't need to know following Super Wildcard Weekend. Let's review. Tom Brady had 381 passing yards and became the oldest player to throw a touchdown pass in a playoff game. He was 43 years and 159 days old.
That's a record. Is it?
Oh, yeah.
You can tell his age not by his play on the field, but by his TikTok account. The Browns won their first playoff game since 1994. Also in 1994, genetically engineered tomatoes were approved for use in the U.S. A big year overall for Mark Sessler. The Seahawks lost their first home playoff game since 2010, the year I graduated high school. Pete Carroll is 34 years and 131 days older than Coach Sean McVay, which is about 1/14 the time it takes gum to decompose. According to Next Gen Stats, Lamar Jackson reached 20.52 miles per hour on his 48-yard rushing TD. I also learned that a black mamba snake can move around 20 miles per hour, so that's disgusting. Head coach Doug Peterson was let go by the Philadelphia Eagles. His birthday is January 31st, so safe to say this month is sort of ruined for him. Aaron Rodgers is doing all he can to prepare for hosting the Rams in the divisional round.
Love you, baby. Love you, bro. You're the best, no doubt.
He is also guest hosting an episode of Jeopardy to be released soon. I have no further information about that appearance.
Greg's final thought is. All right, welcome back. And the great Ricky Hollywood, our fine producer, keeping you all up to date. All right, let's take a break from playoff talk to catch up on the news. We'll start on the coaching carousel. We're going to stay on the coaching carousel. It's getting dizzy. So are Jets fans, because Robert Saleh has been hired as the team's head coach. He spent the last 3 seasons in San Francisco as the DC there, where he earned rave reviews both for the results he got out of the Niners, especially this year when they were decimated by injuries, and just for being someone who excites the fan base and the players love to play for. And Mark, as a Jets fan, I'm flying because he's a total 180 from Adam Gase. Everything that Gase wasn't, Saleh is.
I love this for you, Dan. I really do. We were texting, even weeks ago, sort of saying if there is one candidate that just fits what the Jets need right now, a true leader, a player's coach, a coach that like players are coming out of the woodwork to say how much this guy meant to their careers, the way he maximizes players. I think he's going to come in with a great plan. You've got Mike LaFleur coming in as well, and that situation is wonderful. I think you're going to have a wonderful offense that's going to look kind of Niners-esque, paired with a defense with a real identity. Dan, this is a new day. I know we've said that about a lot of Jets coaches in the past. Tell me, this feels completely different than some of these ham and eggers that we've sold in years before.
Well, when Adam Gase got hired, you really had to talk yourself into it, and you said, oh, well, it's ready. Let's get Sam Darnold to take the next step. So you bring in an offensive-minded head coach. It didn't work for a number of reasons. It turned out to be an idea built on a soggy foundation. This just feels so much smarter for the Jets. And this is a Jets fan base that is so downtrodden and beat up right now. It's been 10 years between playoff appearances. They've had one winning season in that time, and you're coming off a really depressing 2-14. This is the first time in a while where you really feel like something good has happened for this organization. Really, since Joe Douglas was hired as GM, there seems to be a foundation, Greg, being put in place now.
There's so many things to like about it, including that Douglas didn't really know Saleh beforehand. I like that it's not just like hiring his buddy. I love that he brings LaFleur in. And, the whole talk this week of, well, you got to be worried if LaFleur leaves in a year or two because he's going to be sought after. First of all, that's a great problem. Second of all, look at this coaching tree that Shanahan to McVay to LaFleur, like they groom guys. That's what good coaching staffs do. And everything you hear about Saleh is that they can groom the next LaFleur behind him. I love that I saw Robert Saleh win this year. And when I say win, I mean have great defensive play without a lot of talent. I mean, they lost everyone in San Francisco and they were still fired up and rolling each and every week. It has been a great couple of moves, I think, between Joe Douglas and now Robert Saleh.
And LaFleur, just for background, is the brother of Matt LaFleur, Mike LaFleur, and he was the passing game coordinator in San Francisco under Shanahan. He's going to be the OC. So you have something in place. And now we figure out or find out the next step. Is Sam Darnold that quarterback? We don't know yet what direction the organization goes. Personally, I would like to see Sam Darnold with a new head coach in a Shanahan offense again, which he was in his rookie year, and see what happens. But they have a big decision to make there.
He deserves it. Like he was put in one of the worst situations. And is the story done for Sam Darnold in New York? I hope it's not.
I hope not too. We'll see how it all plays out. All right. In other head coach hiring news, a big move by the Jacksonville Jaguars, and this one had been teased for what felt like months. Urban Meyer is officially the new head coach. This is a college legend in the coaching game at Ohio State and Florida. Before that, he had been in broadcasting for the past couple of years. But now, Greg, he comes out to take over a Jaguars team that has the #1 overall pick, ton of cap space, big job ahead of him. What do you think about the hire?
It's exciting. I got to tread lightly here. There's nothing that angers fans more than being at all skeptical about a head coach hiring. I just think the #1 reason he's successful in college is that his players were way better than every other team. And I'm not saying that he's not a good coach. He obviously did it at Utah. But you got to see it. Like, college football's so different because Ohio State could recruit and have a vastly superior team to almost everyone they played. And so that, to me, is the #1 reason why great college coaches are great. Doesn't mean that they can't get it done in the NFL, but I just feel like I got to see it first.
I'm with you. I think it's a different world. It is a radioactive move. I mean, you're already seeing on Twitter, people are going off pro and con. And I think there's reasons to be on either side. Our friend Daniel Jeremiah compared him to Jimmy Johnson. I don't see a personality like Jimmy Johnson there necessarily, but there are plenty of college coaches that have come in and been great coordinators, and there are a few that have been really good head coaches, and there's a smattering on the other side as well, and they've been in recent times. So if anything, it's intriguing, it's interesting. You throw Trevor Lawrence into the mix, you talk about having better players than others, he might have one right away. So it's a good starting place. He's not taking over some sort of floating trash bag here. He is taking over a team with a lot to like.
All right. Well, they are 1-15 on a 15-game losing streak. Currently floating trash bag. Maybe not in the future. Finally, NFL Network's own Ian Rappaport reporting that Dan Campbell, the Saints' assistant head coach and tight ends coach, has emerged as the favorite to be the new head coach of the Detroit Lions. Who's Dan Campbell again? Oh, yeah, he was the guy that replaced Joe Philbin years ago as an interim coach. He gets another shot in the big chair, Greg.
This is a shocker. You know, it's got Chris Spielman's hands all over it. I love Chris Spielman as a Fox broadcaster. I think what he talks about really liking is like he wants tough guys who play tough football, you know, manly, like, you know, we're going to pound the ball. That seems like Dan Campbell to me, and we'll see. We'll see if it works. I hope so for Lions fans.
Name came out of nowhere. I was really surprised by this. I thought he did a nice job, like when he was put into a head coaching role before. We'll see.
It feels a little bit, but a Robert Saleh light type hire for the Lions. But this is a guy that the players like playing for, which wasn't the case with the prior head coach, Matt Patricia. All right, we are close to the finish line here on the Around the NFL broadcast. Coming up next, one final thought. Patrick Mahomes, Lamar, the names playing this weekend. So much fun. Greg has a take. He's going to share it up next. All right, welcome back. Before we go, we share one final thought on the eve of divisional round weekend. Mark, get us going.
Well, I can't help but think of your dad, Dan, Keith Hansis, Dan's dad. How about I get this out? And listen, this is a loyal contributor to our show. He has called in after terrible Jets games loyally for years. And he was nice enough when the Browns won a playoff game to call me and leave a message and saying, congratulations. It couldn't have been a classier move. And I just want to say that we are rooting for Dan's dad and for Dan too. But Dan's dad, he has been around for so long watching these Jets games. It is time for the sun to rise on his fandom and Jets fans in general. So Dan's dad, Keith Hansis, I'm with you on this one. Congratulations.
No, that's very nice of you to say. My dad sends a text every year on the anniversary of Joe Namath and the Super Bowl III win. It's been 52 years, and the Jets have not been back to the big game since then. It is overdue. Keith and I will watch a Super Bowl game one day together. All right, Greg, your final thought.
That was very big of you, Mark, especially after Dan locked up against the Browns last week. I hope you're so nice to me as I talk about what I want to see next week. That's Lamar and Patrick Mahomes. Lamar and Patrick Mahomes, this was the matchup that everyone wanted to see a year ago. It was the matchup everyone expected a year ago, like the two quarterbacks who are the absolute future of the NFL, 2018 MVP, 2019 MVP, two juggernauts. And sometimes in the NFL, we get the matchup that we want a year later. I think that's what's going to happen this time. I think the Ravens are better. They have a feel of a team of destiny right now. Mark, I'm sorry, but Patrick Mahomes is just tough to take out in the playoffs until I see otherwise. And I would be thrilled. I'd be thrilled for any matchup in the AFC Championship, but man, Lamar and Mahomes just a year later would be awesome.
I'll allow it, and I will not speak to you all weekend. See you Monday.
I'm with you. I love these young quarterbacks squaring off in the playoffs in the AFC because it's not the first time we're going to see these guys square off. It's going to be the new era. And on that point, my one final thought is it's time to say goodbye. We're reaching that point to the old guard of NFL QBs. And Tom Brady's brilliance at age 43 has provided some cover for the end. This is the end, my friend, for the old guard, which are, 38 and up. I'm keeping Aaron Rodgers out of this conversation, but Phil Rivers and Big Ben, one and done last weekend. Drew Brees obviously feels like he's on the way out. Eli Manning is far in the rear view, out of football already. I mean, I think it's another reason to appreciate Tampa Bay, New Orleans, because as much as you think Tom Brady's going to be around for a bunch of years, you never know how things can play out, and this could be the last time you ever see Drew Brees play. So the end is nigh. All right, thank you to everyone for watching the Around the NFL broadcast presented by Truist. And remember, the Around the NFL podcast 3 times a week, including Sunday night, where we recap all the games we just previewed. Thank you, and enjoy your football.